Yo, what's good everybody, and welcome back to Kazzy Bear TV, where here in a brief moment we are going to be going over my NFL Week 4 predictions. And I don't know about you, but it seems like this season is already flying by. Like, it is Week 4, and I honestly don't really know if any team has a true identity. Like, you have a team like the Miami Dolphins blowing out teams by 50 points, which I mean is cool and all, but I mean, like, they're not going to continue to do that. And then you have a team like the Dallas Cowboys who, up until this week, looked like they were going to blow out teams by 40 points a game, losing to the Cardinals. Even heading into Week 4, nothing really makes sense. Like, it is still obviously anybody's game. Now, I will say this, Week 3, not a terrible week for NFL fans because there weren't 6,000 crazy injuries. I mean, there were a few, but let's just take it with a grain of salt. It's not nearly as bad as the first 2 weeks. Now, for my Week 3 picks, I did finish with a record of 12-4, currently sitting at an overall record of 32-16. And like I said in my last week's video, that's kind of where I want to be at bare minimum. So 12-4, not going to complain about that one bit. Moving forward to Week 4, I'm very excited about this week because it looks like on paper a lot of good matchups. And this is going to be a true testament to how good I actually am at calling these games. But before we get into that, this video is presented by Chesco Sports, your one-stop shop for sports betting content. Make sure you guys head over there, give them a like, subscribe to the channel. Definitely some good content you guys don't want to miss out on. The link is in the description below. And obviously give this video a like, share, and subscribe to your boy. And with all that being said, let's get to my Week 4 predictions.
I gotta build a better version of myself, and that's on baby. Confident to say I'm pretty as my lady, but your shorty says she want me cause my jawline is amazing. Cheating is bad, throw out the flag, trying to chase the flag to carry me and all my people straight to Vegas. Build a crib as big as many football stadiums, and you best believe I'm repping for the city that I came from. Speaking of facts, throw out the flag.
All right, kicking off Thursday night football, we have a very good showdown. We got the Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers. I mean, simply put, Jordan Love needs some help. Like, they're coming off of a huge win against the New Orleans Saints last week, but like, let's be honest, if you watch that game, could have went either way. As for the Detroit Lions, I mean, they clearly have the better team on paper. Like I just mentioned, Jordan Love needs Aaron Jones back. They need Christian Watson back, and there's probably a good chance that Christian Watson misses yet another week. It obviously doesn't help that this is a short week for the Green Bay Packers, and even though they are at home, God, I mean, I just really don't know. The Detroit Lions just have a little bit too much firepower, and I don't think that the Green Bay Packers can continue to win this way moving forward. This is a massive game for both teams because that division is very weak right now, and at the end of the day, I think the team that has the better offense will win this one. Both defenses are not too crazy right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a high-scoring game, but I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to win this one on the road, 23-17 over Green Bay. Jordan Love, just like I said, he needs more help. All right, moving on to Sunday's games. We got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both of these teams coming off of a beatdown. And honestly, rightfully so, I think that that exposure was past due. The Atlanta Falcons are not a good football team. Like, yeah, they have guys that should be making big plays for them, but they are just not coached well at all, and you're not going to win games just using Bijan Robinson. I'm going to say the same thing that I said last week. If you can't get Drake London and Kyle Pitts involved in that offense, it doesn't matter who you have running the ball. You're going to lose. As for the Jacksonville Jaguars, getting their asses whooped by the Houston Texans, and honestly, I'm glad because, I mean, I'm low-key rooting for the Texans. I like a good underdog story. Like, who doesn't like a good underdog story? It gets really cool seeing what CJ Stroud's doing over there with pretty much nobody. And they put it to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are obviously favored to win this game by 3. And both of these teams' defenses don't look like anything too promising. But like I said, the Atlanta Falcons just cannot and will not win if they cannot get their offensive playmakers involved. Atlanta, I just simply need to see more. Jacksonville, you have a good roster. You have the much better coach. This is a must-win for you guys. Going with the Jags to win a close one, 20-19 over Atlanta. All right, moving on to the next game, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. This should be a pretty fun game to watch. I don't foresee either defense stopping these offenses. Like, Josh Allen should have his way in Tua and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and apparently Raheem Mostert, who is playing like a top 5 back in the NFL right now. Yeah, both of these offenses should thrive. And I'm actually shocked to see this because they do have the Buffalo Bills being favored. I mean, they are at home, but I mean, did you guys, like, I know you guys saw the game the other day. The Miami Dolphins are on crack. Like, I can't even put that into words. There's no reason for an NFL team to beat another NFL team by 50. That's one of the main reasons why I'm not a huge college football fan, because I'm like, okay, dude, like, That's not even fun to watch, but that was crazy. All in all, the Buffalo Bills are triple the team that the Denver Broncos are, so we're not going to see that again, but this should be a shootout. It should be fun to watch. In the way that the Miami Dolphins are looking right now, they are just very well poised. They take care of the ball. They have more playmakers. I don't think that the Buffalo Bills and Stephon Diggs are going to be enough to match the firepower that is on that Miami Dolphins offense. I mean, for this game, it's going to be simple. The better offense is going to win, and that is the Miami Dolphins. Going with Miami to win a big one on the road, 28-24 over Buffalo. All right, moving on to the next matchup. We got the Denver Broncos taking on the Chicago Bears. I might do it. I might pick the Bears to win. Chicago, show some heart. This game is going to go one of two ways. The Broncos are going to destroy them by 20 plus, or the Bears are going to win by a hair. Obviously, for betting purposes, I'm staying the farthest away from this game as possible. I want nothing to do with it, but this is a good opportunity for the Chicago Bears to just get the win at home, man. Like honestly, it's kind of depressing seeing what your fans are going through, and it's not because you're losing games. Like, I mean, every year there are teams that don't play up to their expectations, but you guys look terrible. Like, when I watch you guys play, it's some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life. And I'm sorry, that's just downright ridiculous and unacceptable. Chicago win this one. Going with the Bears to win. 16-14 somehow, some way. All right, moving on to the next matchup. We got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns. This should be a good one. Both of these teams have a solid defense. Both of these teams have playmakers on offense that can get the job done. But there's one main thing that I noticed about these two teams that I think separates them. The Cleveland Browns have at least been meeting expectations. Like, they weren't supposed to be a bad team on offense and defense. And even without Nick Chubb, like, there's no reason why they can't continue to move the rock. And they're going to do that because they have a top offensive line. The Browns are supposed to be good. But on the other end, for the Ravens, they are 2-1 and they should be 3-0, and they're not playing their best football. Just like my Philadelphia Eagles, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, the thing about the Baltimore Ravens that stands out to me is they have a good roster. Like, they have guys who are very good. And when you have a team that has a roster like that, even if they're not playing well early on in the season, you know what's going to happen. I think that they are very well coached, and in due time, I mean, they're going to figure it out. The Baltimore Ravens, even with a few significant injuries, still have a lot of firepower on that offense. The Cleveland Browns are playing some of their best football right now. The Cleveland Browns are at home, and to top it off, that division is wide open. The better team is going to win this game, and the better team is the Baltimore Ravens. Going with the Ravens to win 24-21 over the Browns. All right, moving on to the next matchup, we got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans. Titans coming off a beatdown, and the Cincinnati Bengals showing some signs of life, getting a huge win against the LA Rams. And I hate to break it to you Joe Burrow haters, but like, he's going to be okay. Like, as long as he can stay healthy, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be just fine. No, I don't think they're going to be a top team in the league, but they should be a playoff contender. And that offense eventually will be firing up on all cylinders. So yeah, just the other day we saw a little taste of it, and it's going to continue on. The Titans are a very beatable team. I mean, yeah, the addition of DeAndre Hopkins looks pretty good on paper, but let's be honest, it's just a polished turd. Like, we know for a fact that the Titans are going to have probably 2 or 3 games where they're going to blow out teams that they have no business competing against because they just do that. But all in all, the Titans are not a good team. And on top of that, this is pretty much a must-win for the Bengals. They can't afford to be too far behind in that division because it is going to be very competitive as the season progresses. It's a must-win for the Bengals, and they're going to be just fine, even on the road against the Titans. Going with Cincinnati to win, 30-23 over the Titans. All right, moving on to the next game, we got the LA Rams taking on the Indianapolis Colts. A winnable game for both teams. Anthony Richardson should be making his return, and although Gardner Minshew did handle business against the Baltimore Ravens, Anthony Richardson, he's the guy. The Rams right now, still trying to figure out what their identity is. Like, yeah, they have showed signs of being pretty solid on offense. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on them, but like, are we going to sit there and say that this is a very accurate representation of what the Rams are? Let's be real. Are you going to fix your lips to say that the Rams offense is good? To me, it's just very hard to put my best dollar on the Rams until that guy Cooper Kupp comes back. And the Rams could win this game big time. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're terrible. I just don't know, again, what their true identity is. I just simply need to see more. Like, yeah, I like Stafford. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I mean, the league's just tough. The Colts have a solid defense, and I think that as long as Anthony Richardson can stay away from Aaron Donald, they might be okay. Like, I really do believe that when he comes back, he's going to be well aware that, hey, we are 2-1. And if we win this game against the Rams, which are a very beatable team, 3-1 looks very good for a team like Indianapolis, especially with their division kind of being up for grabs. So yeah, going with the Colts to win this one, 23-21 over the Rams. Get it done. All right, on to the next game. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New Orleans Saints. I think that the Bucs were a tad bit exposed playing against my Philadelphia Eagles just the other day. I don't think they're terrible, but I think that their 2-0 start is kind of a fluke. I mean, if I am wrong on this is going to be the game to prove it. But even if that is true, they are still in a very winnable division, so expect the Bucs to show up and try to put it to the Saints. Now, as for New Orleans, probably going to be without Derek Carr dealing with that shoulder issue. It doesn't seem like anything serious, just an AC sprain, but they might sit him this week just to make sure he can come back 100%. This is a game that I believe that the New Orleans Saints can win without Derek Carr, so if need be, sit him. They have a very good defense that should be able to do what we did and put pressure on Baker Mayfield, put him in uncomfortable situations, forcing him to make throws that he probably doesn't have the ability to do, and let your offense do what your offense is supposed to do. You got Chris Olave and Michael Thomas. That's a fine 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position. Alvin Kamara, if I'm not mistaken, is back from a suspension. And on top of that, you have the best football player of all time. That is Taysom Hill. Jameis Winston is more than capable of winning this game, and I think that the Saints defense will prevail. Going with the Saints to win 16-13 over the Bucs. All right, on to the next matchup. You got the Washington Commanders taking on my Philadelphia Eagles. Not trying to be that guy, but if you guys have been watching the Eagles the past 3 weeks, yeah, that defense is real. More specifically, our defensive line. I mean, Sam Howell is going to be in hell. Honestly, given if we don't have any significant injuries when it comes to that defensive line, we're probably going to give every quarterback that we face a very hard time. As for offense, we are continuing to struggle. We're not playing our best football yet. Thankfully, when you're as loaded as the Philadelphia Eagles, you can afford to make mistakes and bounce back with no problem. That's what we did against the Bucs. That's what we did against the Patriots. I mean, honestly, all 3 weeks we've made mistakes and turned right around and just fixed it. Like, it's just not a problem. We have a very good football team. Now, it is a division game, and I'm not going to have it being a blowout. The Eagles are favored by 8.5, and I think that Washington will cover. But I mean, honestly, the only way I could see Washington win this game is if we have a strand of significant injuries, which is probably not going to happen. Going with the Eagles to win 23-20 over the Commanders. Go Birds. All right, on to the next game. We got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Carolina Panthers. I mean, yeah, it could go either way, but let's just be honest. The Vikings still are the better team. Carolina struggles bad on offense. Their defense is fine, but it's just not enough to win them games, unfortunately. Not really an ideal matchup. Both these teams looking like they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year, but the Vikings still are going to put up more points than the Panthers. I mean, honestly, it should be a blowout, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm simply going to go with the Vikings win because they just have a very high-powered offense, and they go toe-to-toe with every team that they play. And again, the Panthers just struggle to put up points, and the Vikings don't. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings to win this one 27-9 over Carolina. All right, on to the next matchup. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Houston Texans. Yet again, another good matchup. Both these teams are showing some promise. CJ Stroud is legit, and he's doing it with pretty much nothing. I think that this can be a game where we can finally see an emergence of Dameon Pierce. I don't think he's a bad running back at all. I just think that he's having a very sluggish start to the season, and he is on my fantasy team. So yeah, you need to do something. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is going to continue to play very well. And I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for saying this, but I do believe that the Pittsburgh offense does still have a little bit of promise. I just think that the last 3 weeks, Kenny Pickett has showed up to the game drunk. So Kenny Pickett, put the bottle down, go out there, play good football. Got the Pittsburgh Steelers winning a grinder over the Texans 17-10. All right, moving on to the first of the afternoon games. We got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the LA Chargers. Don't quote me on this because I'm honestly not sure, but I do believe that the Chargers, they've been getting the best of the Raiders as of recent. Like I said, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's true. But yeah, just a weird game. Both of these teams look extremely inconsistent. The Chargers continue to battle with injuries. Austin Eckler probably going to be out yet another week. It's not a huge deal because this is a very winnable game without him, but we also have to keep in mind that they did just lose Mike Williams for the year, so that means that you got Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston, and if I'm not mistaken, Joshua Palmer. Justin Herbert should have no problem putting up a good chunk of yards and putting his team in position to score time and time again, but it all comes down to the defense and if they're going to be able to stop Devonta Adams from scoring 5 touchdowns and going for 550 yards, because he can do that. But no, in all seriousness, the Chargers should win this game quite comfortably. The Las Vegas Raiders are not a good football team right now, and the Chargers may not be as well, but they're better. Going with LA to win big time, 24-14 over the Raiders. All right, moving on to the next game. We got the New England Patriots taking on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know about this one as much as I would like the Patriots to pull off this upset because it would be hilarious. The Cowboys are coming off of an embarrassing loss against the Arizona Cardinals. They are back at home, and that is a very difficult place to play. And even though I do believe that the Patriots can win this game if they play their best football. They're just tremendously outmanned. The Cowboys are and should be a good football team this year. They're going to be fine. As much as I hate the fuckers, like they're not a bad team. And they're just going to beat teams that are on the same caliber of the New England Patriots. And on top of that, the Cowboys are notorious for bouncing back after a bad game. I expect the Cowboys to come back and put on a pretty good show for their fans. And yeah, I mean, they're going to roll the Patriots. Going with the Cowboys to win 30-20 over New England. All right, and on to the next game. We got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Just another one of those games where it's going to be a massive blowout or extremely close for no reason other than the 49ers are going to play down to the level of the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals coming off a huge win against the Dallas Cowboys, like I just mentioned in my previous take. And the San Francisco 49ers are 3-0, and they have rolled every team that they faced so far. The 49ers have the best defense in the league. They have a very deep and consistent offense. As much as I would love to see an upset because that would just be funny, I just simply cannot, and you should not as well, take the Arizona Cardinals to win this game, and it should not be close. Going with the San Francisco 49ers to win comfortably, 21-10 over Arizona. All right, moving on to Sunday Night Football. We got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New York Jets. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but the Kansas City Chiefs are extremely good at football. And it's not just Patrick Mahomes. From Andy Reid to Mahomes to their defense, like they are very well rounded. And despite having 675 million drops in week 1, they should be 3-0. As for the Jets, defense is nice, but you're going to need a lot more on defense to be a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce is going to find the end zone probably twice alone. I 110% could see Patrick Mahomes throwing a couple picks, but unfortunately the Jets won't be able to do anything with it because they don't have the offense. Now, it's not that the Jets are terrible. I just don't understand why they can't get things figured out. They have what should be a good 1-2 punch in that backfield. That is Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. Obviously, we all know that Garrett Wilson is a superstar, but yeah, I just can't see Zach Wilson making enough plays to take down a team like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to score a lot of points, and the Jets are not going to be able to match that. Going with Kansas City to win big time, 27-10 over the Jets. And finally, Monday Night Football, we got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the New York Giants. And I'm gonna stick to my guns. I said in a previous video before the season started that I have the Seattle Seahawks being the best team out of the NFC West. Not looking too promising right now, but they are capable and have been winning football games. And I honestly do not think that the Giants are going to be able to win a lot of games without Saquon Barkley. They just don't have enough on that offense, and they're not the same Giants defense that we saw last year. And on top of that, I've never understood the hype around Brian DeBall. I don't care that he won Coach of the Year last year. They were barely a playoff team, and let's be honest, the NFC East last year had a very easy schedule. I can admit that. I'm simply going to stick to my guns, like I said, because I really do believe that Seattle is a good football team, and this is a big game that they need to win on the road to make a statement. And Seattle's going to do it. Going with the Seahawks to win 21-20 over the Giants, but it should be worse than that. And there you have it. My week 4 picks are officially in. And per usual, before we go, I want to give you guys my 3-leg lock, which is a 3-leg parlay that I feel will be a for sure hit by the end of this week's games. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars to cover a 3-point spread. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings money line, and I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to cover a 7-point spread. Get that bet locked in, and hopefully you and I can make some money when it's all said and done. And if you'd like, make sure you check out my betting guide. The link is in the description below. That's where I dive in a little bit deeper and post my absolute best bets. So yeah, that's all I got for you. And if you haven't already, please make sure you like the video, leave a comment, let me know what you think of my picks, subscribe to the channel, and give it a quick share. And as always, good luck to your team's fantasy football and in real life. And until the next video, as always, go Birds.